Yo! Video games.
What up, dudes, and welcome back to the YoVideogames podcast. I'm Matt.
And I'm Andrew.
And once again, thank you to all our generous patrons who kept us going for over 450 episodes.
Yeah, if you're interested in becoming a patron at any level, please check out patreon.com/YoVideogames podcast. Dude of the week is Kendrick D. Thank you, Kendrick.
Thank you, Kendrick.
I think dude for months now, finally getting around to you, and you got the Nintendo episode. Nintendo had their indie direct. It was a partner direct too, or
yeah, it was a double
both.
feature. It was
Yeah,
a double feature. First time,
Um,
which threw a lot of people for a loop. And I mean that's a whole subject I guess we could get into and talk about here because they've not done a double feature like this before. And also typically they don't do anything in August. Oh, it's late August when they did it. Usually
usually it's September, right?
September. It's been September for like 8 years. It's been September. So I mean, I guess I don't know. Screw it. I guess we could talk about it now. So a lot of people, there were some people rumoring around that they did this early. They pushed this up. This got pushed up early, and they're doing that because they're going to have the big reveal for the new system in September. No. And I posted this. People were pushing back hard on it because, well, certain leakers said that this was going to happen. So part one of this happened. So part two has to happen. And I'm like, okay, I just want to take a moment here. This came out right after Gamescom, right before Tokyo Game Show, also right before PAX. And I also think we're just, people think that they've never done two together. They've never done it back to back. They have to be clearing it all out. It has to be a clear deck so that they can announce the new system. Like, yeah, but they're not going to announce the new system in 1 month.
Right.
Like
that
undermines and undercuts everything in this direct. Like, hey, here's all this cool stuff. We'll see in a month when none of that ish is going to matter because we got a new system. But it's like, oh, but the new system will be backwards compatible. Sure, but again, it's like they're at like 144 million units. They are trying to go through a holiday season. Like we know for 100% fact the new system's not coming out this year. Why when we know for a fact that they're selling a new Switch Lite bundle with Zelda next month.
Right.
Next month, same month, okay.
And wait, we know
there's always going to be holiday bundles. And again, the holiday season. They are not going to literally sabotage their last holiday push for the original Switch by distracting everyone with news of a new system.
Yeah, and I mean if you they announced the Switch 1 how many months before it came out?
So we got that teaser.
And it came out in April.
We got the teaser in October of 2016, the lifestyle teaser. We got the massive stage presentation in January. The system came out in early March.
I remember. Yeah.
Right. And people try to keep throwing that back. Oh, they did that last time. That's what they did last time. I'm like, do you understand how dead the Wii U was in 2016? Like you are forgetting the Wii U is catastrophically one of the worst selling video game systems of all time. Remember how we have a lot of talk now about how the Xbox Series S and X is selling poorly? It's more than doubled the sales of the Wii U, right?
I did not know that, but that is harsh.
Like going into its fourth year, the Wii U had sold less than half of what the Xbox Series S and X has sold. So
I
under the Xbox One as well.
I understand the hope, like the hopium that everyone's on, because I would also like the Switch 2 to get announced. I'd like that little injection of next product excitement. But I do think I didn't remember that they did like an October teaser. But I do think that the earliest we'll see something is January. I sort of think that it would probably not happen until next fiscal year, right? Because they want to finish out
certain announcement.
Well, I was thinking release. Release
right,
wouldn't happen until next fiscal year.
I'm with you there.
Yeah, but announcement might not happen. Like January would be the earliest, but I could see the announcement happening February if they were releasing in April.
Yeah,
Like they could
totally,
do that. Like
totally.
now, granted, I don't know exactly how different Nintendo shareholders like is the Nikkei stock market similar where they go on like quarterly or 2-year timelines for their like I don't know all that shit.
I mean, they have
Um
year over year, they have quarterly and yearlies.
yeah, but like you know how like American shareholders now they're really pushy about single quarter
Mm.
performance. Like it's so fast
It
that it's
seems
almost
more yearly. I don't take me. I'm not an stock analysis, anal cyst on,
well, yeah.
on this stuff.
Well,
But I
that's why
believe
the
it's
people come here.
I believe it's more yearly. They do have quarterly. They have quarterly meetings. They have
Yeah,
shareholder meetings every quarter, and
right.
they have updates every quarter.
But if they do all their profit planning and stuff over years, they may not
Yeah,
like it.
right. They have a year outlook. They
Mhm.
and that's kind of an important point here too. I want to
Right.
bring up is that they revised their forecast this year already once to bring down. I think they're at 13.5 million switches they expect to sell this year. I was up from 15 and they lowered it down. And then we've already seen we've literally seen, like, say last month for example, they had a 44% hardware drop year over year for the month of, I think, August. It was August or July. I think it was, no, I'm sorry, it was July. So July had this 44% drop. Bro,
Damn.
so the thing is that, okay, so quarter one for their year is April, May, June. That's the start of the year is April 1st. I'm not going to get into, like, just shut up. Like the corporate calendar year starts on April 1st for
Fiscal.
Nintendo.
Yeah, that's
Their
the fiscal year.
fiscal
Yeah.
year starts on April 1st. So they gave a revised estimate at the end of June based on what was kind of happening. And then the following month after they had that revised forecast, it dropped 44%. Like, it's a pretty steep drop. Basically, almost half of what they're selling year over
That
year.
yeah, that is a shocking drop.
So I'm kind of sitting here thinking, like, they've got to be aware at this point too that I'm like, we are maybe not going to sell that many systems this year. So it's like, well, and some people say, well, that's a reason to announce it. I'm like, no, it's definitely not the reason to announce a new one, because like that's just gonna, like, hey, because the investors aren't sitting here watching, Twitter and gaming forums and by soaking up every bit of gaming news. They're literally just they're gonna walk into the shareholder meeting at the end of the year or at the end of fiscal in March and be like,
Yeah.
wow, you guys really didn't hit your target. So, because for a lot of these people, it's just numbers. They go to their meetings not knowing, paying any attention to what's been going on, and then they just look at the numbers they get every quarter.
Y- Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how informed their shareholders are overall.
I mean, there's been a funny trend of, like, gamers buying in a lot of stock and becoming high enough in the shareholder stake to go to these meetings, and they start asking game related questions, which is, I
Is
know,
that
it's
what
annoying.
is that what you're doing? You're gonna get in there and start asking about Xenoblade?
I don't have those. I don't have that kind of money, but like,
Xenoblade when? uh,
I mean, I'd probably ask a more pointed question, really, which is like, it would be related to that or to Monolith Software, I'm sure, for sure. But I wouldn't sit there and be like, "When's the next Zubla coming out?" I'd be more like, "Okay, so how come they're able to create product at a pace and a quality that some of your biggest partners like Pokemon are, like, so laughably behind? Are you going to do anything to try to match up your crown jewel with the rest of your development studio? Like, I
you're
don't care
going there to make enemies.
exactly. I'm like, I don't care. I don't care what your seniority is, Miyamoto. Like, get your shit in order."
Uh, I I do think like one big point that we brushed over just now is like obviously they're not going to announce anything when they have a new Switch version coming out, a new old Switch.
Yeah, like a special Switch Lite with
Yeah.
Zelda, a Zelda Lite bundle, and then of course they're going to have their Mario Kart bundle that they release every holiday season.
I
Again, why throw into the ether? There's another system coming.
I don't understand how they haven't done a single price drop yet.
Because they're getting away with it.
Yeah, no, I mean, but at that 44% drop, you'd think they would have been like, let's cut, I don't know, 10% off.
Well, it's possible, and I don't know the truth, how much truth there is in this, but it's possible that manufacturing costs have not really gone down that much, especially coming out of COVID. And also,
Okay.
especially the fact that this thing is now so old, so proprietary. You don't get it. It's not even like, oh, we have a lot of this. It's not even like discount anymore. Now it's like it's special order basically to manufacture such an old chipset, for this thing from Nvidia in particular.
But even with a 44% drop, they're like the volume that they're doing. I don't I don't know, but I don't think they're going to undercut that. So I don't think we have to worry about any major announcements probably until January. But uh that being said, there was some cool stuff in this indie direct and in
Yeah,
the show.
if anything, I would actually propose or put forth the idea that, like, despite having Gamescom opening week, and all these other shows and all these different. It's funny how Nintendo puts out a mini partner direct in an indie world, and it's somehow more exciting than than most of these massive 2 hour long, dragged out. Here's Peter Molyneux. Oh,
Well, you know what it is like people know that 90% of those shows are fluff,
hmm.
and so they tune those out, whereas this is just like they're just cranking through through titles and getting it done because they want to spend as little as possible putting it out there.
That's
Um,
also true. It is a much more tight, lean experience.
yeah, it's just the news and like maybe two segments of someone talking, but like it's
You know what else I think? I think there's a lot of wasted media dollars, and I mean, not that I want to put these companies out of business or whatever who make like CG trailers or whatever. I'm not trying to say boo on Blur or anything like that, but
no, but I agree. Yeah.
there's so many games that they go and they spend big dollars to make a big cinematic CG trailer because everyone thinks they've got the most hottest, desirable, mind blowing. Everyone's going to talk about it, big cinematic, and just rock the theater trailer, and it's for a game, people are like, oh yeah, that's a game too, whatever.
Well, they all hire the same people.
Yeah,
That's why the same beats per minute gets used. It's why the same style of like cutting on certain beats gets used. It's why all the trailers, the biggest trailers all seem to have the same style every year. Every
yeah.
year the biggest trailers all seem to be made by the same people cuz guess what? They are.
Right. That's when you get other stuff that, like, say, when Kojima does a trailer that he edits himself and it's like 8 minutes long and it's just weird on weird on weird. It's like it stands out
Stands out.
because
Yeah.
it's this dude's weird idea of editing a trailer.
Well, then he's got like an edge.
Hmm.
Like a lot of trailer houses, and this isn't totally fair. Cutting a trailer used to be an art form in and of itself. There used to be editors specifically for cutting trailers. Now there's trailer houses where they put together a trailer where it's literally they're just doing math based on beats and
Yeah.
stuff like that to like trick you into being hype. They're literally trying to trick your heart rate into rising using like the amount of cutting and the song and everything's about hyping you up without actually giving you anything to be hype about.
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
it's it is a weird Call of Duty commercials, Call of Duty like trailers are perfect examples of
Which
this.
is so funny because I actually think they did better by just showing you, hey, here's a level from the game.
Yeah,
And I think that was a better showing overall at Gamescom in general, just because, like, well, even if I'm not interested, even if it's silly, at least I'm seeing the game being played. Well, this is the game.
right. Um, you know, I don't want to shit on trailer houses because they're one. I know people that have worked at them, and
Yeah, again, I don't.
it's serious stuff. Like they know
It's
what
like
they're doing. They're
I
good.
don't want to put the. I'm not saying, like, I hate these people in their work. I'm just saying everyone kind of does the same thing, and everyone kind of when again, yeah, you're going. Everyone's trying to have that big cinematic standout moment, so nobody stands out.
I liken it to the John Wickification of all action,
Hmm.
right? Have you ever noticed that since John Wick 1, almost all action movies have John Wick style action?
You can make an argument for maybe the transporter. maybe.
Well, specifically, reason why I say John Wick is that the team that did the action there, that did the action for like Chad Stahelski and like
Mhm.
his
Yeah,
team,
yeah,
all those guys became second unit directors for action sequences. So all the Marvel action was done by the guys that did
yeah.
the John Wick. They trained under Chad.
You know what's really
It's why
weird?
it all amalgamated
Yeah, and
together.
they really fucked up on Matrix 4. Uh, because they couldn't get the other guy because of COVID, because the original choreographers and whatever were stuck in Hong Kong.
Right.
So that's why, and they went to the John Wick people, and they were even in the movie, and it was just kind of like, God, their action choreography for that movie fucking sucked. Which
Well,
I actually like the rest of the script, but damn, dude, ugh.
see, the thing that is happening is that they're spread so thin. Love it for them because they're killing it. They're really getting to push the boundaries of their careers, basically. I mean, think about
Yeah.
a second unit director now can pull, in some cases, minimum 250 grand for 6
Mhm.
weeks of, directing. Because the actual director of those Marvel movies doesn't go anywhere near any of the action scenes.
Yeah.
Those are directed entirely by guys like Chad Stahelski and his team. I'm blanking
Mhm.
on the other names, but they're all legends in action, but they're all also like worn pretty thin. Like
It wouldn't
they're
be
spread very
it,
thin.
that's a Marvel production in general at this point.
Yes. Well, that is what's happening with all these trailers for shooters. They're all handled by the same trailer houses, generally speaking. And your adventure trailer. The thing that's interesting about Nintendo's trailers is it seems like they're almost all cut by the devs themselves.
Yeah.
It does seem that way. I'm not saying that is exactly what's happening. I'm just saying that
I mean, it certainly feels true for indie world, which it
Indie World,
probably is.
definitely that's what's happening. But, like, even, like, the Konami game, like, the Konami collections and stuff
Mhm.
look like they're some intern at Konami was like, "I guess I gotta cut together some juicy bits," you
Yeah,
know?
and then you know the interesting thing is I skimmed through the Japanese version of the direct, and they would have slightly different versions of the trailers, like different
Interesting.
footage. Um, like a really weird example is there was the Patrick Star game, which is like Goat Simulator playing as Patrick,
Yeah, I
and
saw that.
and the Japanese version is actually almost a completely different trailer. The footage is almost entirely unique in that one.
Less vandalism?
No, more actually, I wanna say.
Huh,
But it's interesting 'cause I'm like, "Hey, this is actually even more funny, weird stuff." I actually wish they kinda showed some of this in the American show. So there was, like, this kinda, like, give and take of, like, well, this had a bunch of different stuff than ours, and both were pretty good, actually. It's just, whatever they decided for that trailer in Japan, I think they just gave 'em a bunch of B-roll, and someone at Nintendo probably cobbled to get together, because they have different narrators,
yeah,
voicing over, and 'cause they have to give different release dates and different prices and different dollar,
yeah,
currency,
that makes sense,
all,
yeah.
all that jazz. So I think they probably edit a bunch of footage together, give it to Nintendo, and then someone at Nintendo then splices and cuts it up to fit in the direct themselves. I would
I
assume.
wouldn't be surprised if that's the case.
Well, like there was like one
Um,
game in particular, a lot of people are kind of like, a little bit up in arms about it. Not really up in arms, but just sort of like, oh, that's gonna. It was in like a sizzle reel in the North American one, which was the Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky 1
oh,
remake.
right, yeah,
And it got a full blown trailer in Japan. Japan had the full trailer. Ours was literally the same trailer, just really cut down, condensed. It had English footage though, which was interesting. But it's just like they put it in a sizzle reel. In Japan, it was kind of like more main stage. Obviously, probably because it's a
more people in Japan will buy it.
yeah. I mean, it's a very niche series in games. It's gaining popularity out here, but yeah, it's
Right.
it's it's kind of one of those things where sometimes we place importance, like, because we had a whole bunch of crap for Five Nights at Freddy's. There's like 4 Five Nights at Freddy's games. It felt like at one point,
Yeah.
Five Nights at Freddy's this, and Five Nights at Freddy's that. And we also were coming in Five Nights at Freddy's. Freddy, fingers his butthole. He face fucks you. Yeah, whatever. And
Starring Tom Green.
Tom Green. Thank you. But no, Freddy got fingered in Japan. Like in the Japanese mini drag, that then there wasn't even there.
Daddy,
So,
would you like a sausage?
yeah.
Daddy, would you like a
They get
fucking
Sheeran the Wanderer.
movie was terrible. I don't even remember. I think that was called Freddy Got Fingered.
Yeah, Freddie
Uh,
Mercury was in the movie.
God.
I have a newfound respect from it from when someone, I think it was Red Letter Media, proposed the idea. Like, I think this movie was actually a massive troll at the Hollywood system. Like, he basically wanted to see how much money he could waste
I
from
thought Tom
them.
Green said that.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, I thought he had said that it was one big fuck you. Because
And then it kind of made me like, oh, I almost respect this now because, like, I'm just going to make the absolute dumbest, vilest, stupidest thing possible and just blow company money, just waste company money because I'm just like just to prove a point or something.
I might be misremembering, but I think Tom Green himself said that, like in the waning years of his career, because every comedians always have like a 10-year where like
Mhm.
they peak and then they're suddenly gone. I mean, Dane Cook is a perfect example of that. Although, God, the tragic stuff that happened to him, where his brother robbed all his money and shit, um, and then he had to put his brother in prison. Um,
Yeesh.
yeah, like that happens to comedians in general. But yeah, I think when on Tom Green's way out, when he was like hitting the door, he said something like, "Yeah, Freddie Got Fingered was like his magnum opus troll thing where like just sucked up a bunch of money that he lit on fire on screen basically." um it's this is the reason why Adam Sandler is so special, by the way, is like every other comedian, like they're gone after a decade. Like a
Yeah.
decade is their big window, but this dude's still pulling, still doing, and he buys cars for all of his fucking friends and he casts his friends like however the fuck he's doing that. Do I like the movies? I think it's been a while since I saw one that I was like, hell yeah. This is it.
Been a while since I even willingly sat down and watched an
Yeah,
Adam Sandler.
I
But I
think
don't
Jack and
begrudge
Jill
him.
killed it for me, but I don't. Yeah, right. I applaud him. I
Yeah.
applaud him for doing it.
I and again, and I tell people this: if you've ever tried to make any sort of actual film production,
Oh yeah,
you don't realize how important having reliable friends are. So I will never shit talk Adam Sandler or Tim Burton for just constantly reusing the same friends as actors for the role, same, just keep giving them roles in his movies, because getting along, chemistry, getting along, and dependability, reliability. Ooh, man.
impossible. Yeah, no, I mean, it's kind of like people that go like, oh, why are credits so long at the end of movies? Because it takes that many people to get this level of
Hmm.
like you don't think a script coordinator is important in the credits. You don't look for them, but as soon as you've had a script coordinator that knows what they're doing, God, you want them for everything you'll ever do, and you will look for their credit. Like they're great. A dolly grip, you think, oh yeah, dolly grip. That's a throwaway. Nah, a good dolly grip. Ooh, ooh, makes life so much easier. You want them. You want a dolly grip. For anybody that doesn't know what a dolly grip is, they're the grip that pushes the dolly.
Yep.
And they're the guy that figures out how to, or sometimes team of people that figures out how to push at a consistent pace so that you can walk with an actor or run with an actor, or maybe you're sprinting with the actor and then the actor slows down to a stop, so you got to slow down, but you're pushing a 300-pound dolly with two people riding on it. That's that guy's job. Tom Cruise doing some fancy running and shit. Sometimes I got a dolly next to him. There's some poor asshole pushing a 300-pound dolly with two people and a camera on it to keep up with Tom fucking Cruise, who is a world, like he's recognized as a world class runner. There's some dude who's
There's a reason he has to run towards the camera at every point in his movies.
because he's fucking great at it. He looks great. But yeah, the guy, the dolly grip runner was like probably, someone who used to do meth, ex-con,
Oh
smoked
yeah, a
some
lot of them
back
are
in the day.
ex-cons. These are kind of like
Lot of
cooks. Like a lot of restaurant, chefs and stuff have sort of like interesting histories.
Not a lot of people ask questions when you're all like, "Yeah, I'm willing to be a grip on your movie." Yeah, they're some of the lowest paid people on the movie, and they have a remarkably physically like demanding job. He grips at any level. Now, granted, it's not like grips are walking around pulling knives and being like, "You want to should stick 'em, boss?" Like that's not happening. But like if you're ever wondering if there's an ex-con working on your movie, do you have grips? Then the answer is yes.
Yes.
Probably. Probably. A lot of them are great guys though. They're also all the guys that have really great stories. So, if you're hanging out a film set and you want a weird story, Grip's going to be the one. Because the truth is above the line talent almost never remembers Grip's names. So Grips end up being witnesses to the weirdest and wildest shit because producers can't fire him. They'll be like, "Oh, you're fucking fired," and he'll be like, "All right," and he'll walk around the corner and put on a hat and come back. It's like, okay, new Grip. I get paid $200 a day, asshole. I got a hammer and no problem going back to prison. That's an exaggeration. Now most Grips are people who started as PAs and shit. But in the 90s, that was 100% true. So I want to talk about a couple of the games in the direct because there was a couple of surprises that I don't know if you already knew about them. I wrote down even. I mean, obviously the Capcom Fighting Collection and Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection is super fucking cool. The music alone took me back to Tilt and seeing Steve asleep in the Tilt office instead of getting me my goddamn quarter. Steve, I'll never let it go. I'll never let it go. But I was looking. Oh, Star Overdrive. It reminded me a little bit like Sable decided to go that next step and have combat. Now,
Yeah.
granted, not the Sable art style. It was like Sable and
It looked
and
like Sable and Hi-Fi Rush had a
yes,
fucking one night stand, and this was the baby that came out of it.
just like a weird little love baby. Like,
Even
that
the
was
funny thing was because like they said at the end of it was Star Driver was like a time column. I was like, oh, I almost went aw because I was like, I was looking at it. I'm like, man, I'll enjoy this on not the Switch.
yeah, timed
just
exclusive.
just seeing like how large scale and fast paced the game is trying to be, and I'm like, all right, I'll enjoy this on something else. Which you might say, oh, what a hater. I'm like, oh, look, man, like I know what the Switch is. I know what it can and
Switch
can't do.
chugs now.
I know what I can't do, man. I'll if it's good, if it turns out to be a really good time, I will enjoy it on my PC or pretty much any other console. Maybe even a Switch 2 if we get around to it.
Maybe. The other two that I was like sort of interested in is Europa and Metal Slug Tactics.
So Europa, I've played the demo of.
And
I've been following it. It's great. It was supposed to come out in April. It had a date in April, and then it got delayed to summer nebulously, and then it finally got a release date on October 11th for this year, and it's very good. And yeah, I because Nadia actually found it and she pointed it out to me, and then I
oh,
was
she
like,
does like a lot of indies, right?
oh yeah, for sure, yes.
Wow.
And then I was following like, oh yeah, this definitely looks like something, and then played it. They had a demo. They have I don't even there's demos out on Switch now. They've had a PC demo. I don't know if the PC demo is still available. I played it on PC. Very good. It's very much Rhyme meets something like Knights. So it's like Rhyme. It's like Rhyme with a jetpack.
There was another one that reminded me not of Rhyme, but like Inside, and the other was Neva.
Never. Yeah.
Yeah,
That game
like
looked really good too.
that did look really good, but like I didn't see enough of it to know that I'm really gonna like it, but the art style I'm really into.
Well, that
Uh,
last game, Gris, was highly regarded, and I think it's on Game Pass. If you ever want to check out Gris on Game Pass, go for
oh,
it.
okay. Yeah, all right.
Apparently, it's very good too. So Neva was really good. That was also another. There are a good few indie games that look actually pretty good and pretty fun to play.
Well, one of the weird things about like indie showcases is a lot of the time they get bogged down in samey looking games.
Hmm.
And this time around, it seemed like there was a lot of standout art styles.
Yeah.
Like I, if I had a complaint about indies, and I really don't have very many complaints about indies because I want, like in an ideal world, all indies would succeed, right? You want them to
Right. Yeah.
succeed. Uh, but like a lot of them get trapped into I guess, cheap art styles or whatever they can easily do because they don't want to hire a ton of artists. It's different when like the core team are artists themselves, but
Yeah.
a lot of the time it's like they're focusing on physics or stuff that they can put in their resume to then get, for lack of a better term, hired on real development teams, right?
Well, nowadays you probably don't want that. Nowadays you just want your indie project to
Yeah,
blow
well,
up.
you want it to blow up. Yeah, you want it to be another
Mhm.
Among Us and shit. But
Yeah, you don't want to be hired by any major
because they're
developer. For sure.
all bad, Bungie,
Jesus.
just fucking things up. Just everybody's got bad news. Everybody's an asshole. It, if you guys don't know what I'm referencing there, like stay off the internet. It's not worth it. The internet's a mistake. Um, but I'm forgetting his name, but he's the director of Marathon.
Yeah, the one who quit recently.
Yeah, he quit
Semi.
recently because he was having a complaint filed against him. One of many, a long line of complaints. It turns out he's a bit of a creep and
Yeah,
asshole.
apparently allegedly creeping on a lot, almost any female staffer he could get,
He
get in
was creeping
contact
on
with.
streamers. That streamer Paladin Amber
Oh my
apparently
god.
quit playing like a Bungie game because all of her interactions with this guy were creepy, and so she was just like, I'm not gonna play this game anymore." Like she came out and said it as soon as that guy like it can't went public. She was like, "Oh, thank God." And it's like, "Oh, okay. Well, apparently that guy just slid under the radar for a while. Nowhere is safe. Nothing is sacred."
Yeah,
Good
Bungie's a
luck.
bit of a disaster right now.
I think Bungie's in real trouble. One, a lot of people are sitting there like, "Oh, they lied about their value." Yeah, every business is going to do that to try and inflate how much they get bought for.
I mean, this is the thing. That's more on Jim Ryan, for willingly going in and saying, "Yeah, I'll pay 3 point something $billion for
Well,
you, Bungie." As Destiny 2's been out for years and years and is definitely on like the over the hill. It's not going to suddenly spike up in popularity again.
to be overly generous to Jim Ryan, there's no way he didn't do his due diligence. He did his due diligence. Like they exaggerated in quite a few ways to bump that price up, and he bought it. He bought whatever they were selling. Again, all companies that are for sale do that. They're trying to get the maximum amount of dollars they can get for their company.
Well, the thing is to shit on Jim a little more. His initiative to
Love it.
put 12 live service games into production at once within Sony
Yeah,
really not panning out too well for him. I don't know if you've noticed, but the numbers for Concord
are
are
fucking.
disastrous,
Yeah, which
like
is
beyond disaster.
sort of sad because everything I've seen about it, the gameplay looks legitimately good. The characters, I can't tell you what any of them are because they're all forgettable, but which is bad for a hero shooter, yes. But the gameplay itself is apparently all great. And that's sad. And again, for the same reason that I want to see every indie succeed, I don't want any development team to crash and burn. But it
Yeah,
feels like this is 2 years late, at least.
well, I'd say it's four, honestly. Um,
Yeah, if this would have come out in 2020,
yeah, because
maybe.
they started kicking around ideas for it in 2016. Surprise, surprise! The year Overwatch came out, they started kicking around ideas to build a studio and make a hero shooter. These are ex Bungie people mostly at Firesprite. So they were the ones who were making Concord. Concord didn't really go into full production until like 2018, 20 or so. In
It's
Sony
been a
bottom.
long production cycle.
Right. I feel personally about 4 years ago, the writing kind of should have been on the wall there. When Overwatch 1 was floundering about and was having its little disaster moment, I
Yeah.
probably would have sat there and went like, okay, is now the time to really try to like swoop in and be the next, are we going to steal the thunder away? Because the thing is, there's no way, I don't know how you tell this, but like the vibe I kind of feel is that when Overwatch Overwatch itself, it wasn't like people were necessarily clamoring for a replacement. They were either going to stick it out with it, or they had a couple other alternatives already on market.
Right.
And then if there was any chance for getting a new market, Marvel Rivals took that thunder already.
Well, yeah, free to play games though also just
Now, granted, Marvel Rivals you can't account for that because that was basically announced at the same time as your game. So I get it, but it's
but
just
yeah, okay, you can't account for Marvel Rivals, sure, but you can account for the fact that like you're going to charge money for a game that has no following, no captured market at all. And then you're going to go up against several free to play shooters that all have massive follow. Like, what are you selling me?
here's the
Like,
problem
what are
with
you selling me
yeah,
on?
here's the fool's gold of every multiplayer project. And again, I think this is why I was hearing about the high level people were freaking out at the end of last year when they all the data was coming back that the majority of video games being played online are
10
6 years
years old. Yeah.
or older. Like the youngest was like 6 years old. Most of them were 6 to 10 years old,
Mhm.
and they were freaking out. And I'm like, here's your problem. Like, the genre demands your devotion, demands it, demands all of your free time. It is not a quick pick up and play at the bus stop. It is not sit here and unwind and choose to like pause or save and come back at your leisure. It
Right.
demands your time, all of your time. It demands you grind it out. It demands you stay on top and demands you stay frosty. It demands also that you have an audience of people sucked in and keep on playing it over and over and over again. So you people don't get this about like large scale multiplayer gaming, live service, gas, whatever you want to call it. It's so demanding of both having an individual's free time and then collectively getting a large group of individuals suck all their free time, and all of them have to like be devoted into this game. And it worked initially. So guess what that means? I'm not leaving it.
Right.
I'm not going to stop playing that I've already sunk hundreds and hundreds of hours into this time investment, not even money, just time investment. I'm used to this game. I have bought things for this game. I am in this game's ecosystem. This is like Fortnite. I'm not going to learn another shooter like Fortnite. I've invested into Overwatch. I've bought all these skins for Overwatch. I'm not leaving Overwatch. you know uh no matter what, pick your poison, Valorant, whatever.
That's why 11 players
GTA,
way down.
GTA 5,
Yeah.
whatever, Roblox, Minecraft. You are in that ecosystem. You've been in that ecosystem. You've invested hundreds of hours into that ecosystem. They're not slowing down development on any of these games I'm talking about or listing, Fortnite, Roblox, Minecraft, GTA 5, Valorant, whatever, what have you. None of these games are slowing development down. They're still adding new content. Stuff is still coming out for them. They're still putting more in, and the people who have been playing it for hundreds and hundreds of hours have bought characters, bought skins, bought things. Why are they going to leave? So you can play as this dude who looks like an insurance salesman or this other person who wears a fishbowl on their head? No.
Well, I do think that that's one problem is like because hobbies have been turned into second jobs in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Like every time sink, it's the same reason why again, like no one that played 11 was playing WoW religiously.
Hmm.
Like you had MMOs ran into this problem where they had their own market share that stayed totally segregated. And so it was almost impossible to capture new market share. 14 was a little bit different because it came at the right time where players on 11 and players at WoW were getting burned out with both. And so 14 had
14 was a disaster at launch.
yeah,
They had to remake the whole game.
yeah. Uh I do think that that's one thing that's like really impressive about the indie showcase or the partner showcase, or maybe it's what's still impressive about Nintendo in general is like it feels like their partners and their indies take swings that the big guys aren't taking. Like Concord, part of the reason Concord is having the problems is timing. Uh, it came out way too late, but also it is so safe. I mean, it's fucking the colors it uses is safe. Like
Mhm.
nothing about Concord stands out as a big swing. And I'm not saying that to be a dick. I'm not trying. I'm just saying, like, name one thing. If you're gonna look at Black Ops 6, comparing Black Ops 6 to Concord, Black Ops 6 looks downright like a big, like it looks like an outright big swing by going to like choose your own adventure selection and
Mhm.
missions, being able to go loud and quiet. It looks edgy in the fact that it's a semi-realism, engine. It looks oddly like an 80s filter, but like even the character models have like a little bit of an 80s cartoonishness to them. You know what I mean? Like it looks stylish and risky by comparison to Concord. Looks like safe Play-Doh.
Well,
It
it's got
does.
like that. It's got that weird teal and orange kind of aesthetic.
Right. They didn't even take a swing on the art style. And I'm not
I don't know. I don't know if I'd agree. I would just say the art style sucks. Like I'm just going. I'm gonna be the bigger a hole than you, and I'm just gonna say your art style is it just kind of sucks.
well, it's because it's
It's
non-existent.
well, it's like this
It's
sort of just grungy Guardians of the Galaxy meets like an 80s sci-fi, like a budget, 80s sci-fi film.
but it's not
Um,
even grungy. There's
well, it
not even
kind of is.
texture to
Well,
it, you know?
it's kind of trying to be. I mean, I guess maybe I'm going more off the cinematic than the in game because the in game looks a lot
Clean.
cleaner,
It's just clean
than
and
the
smooth.
cinematic.
I It is literally the safest. It's like at every turn, and I'm not saying this is the devs, because obviously, if the gameplay is as excellent as people are saying, the devs put a lot of work in. But it's like every choice that they made, some executive was all like, well, what's the safe option? What's the
Mhm.
safe idea? Don't give anybody too much edge. Don't make any characters that are too like say what you want about any of the other hero shooters. The heroes are memorable.
Yeah,
Fucking Overwatch had loads of porn made.
right.
Well, uh, no one's making any porn about the fishbowl person. like, like it's just, and I'm not saying that it's good that porn got made. Whatever. This is not a fucking. I like flapjacks and I hate waffles situation. I'm just saying, like, there was something that caught attention about Overwatch.
Well, I mean, I think there's also the just sort of the idea from an anthropological point of view where it's just kind of like people like looking at certain things, people like pretty things, or people like, whatever. Like it doesn't there is not on a very, very basic level, there is not appeal. It does not look appealing, anything there. It kind of just looks weird. And like you said, in game is different from like the cinematic trailers, which were very much trying to be like a sort of Guardians of the Galaxy, if you will, um, kind of aesthetic, a little
Yeah,
more like
like that vibe. Yeah.
yeah, a little more space grungy or whatever, um, but dude, I'm just gonna have to say it because I'm just gonna go back to the whole. It's like Rumbleverse. It is
Uh,
Rumbleverse in that sense, where it's just like this is ugly. Like even if it's colorful, like if anything, it kind of has this sort of proving ground for the fact that you can be colorful, but you can still be unappealing.
right.
Color grading, color theory. This stuff is all a thing, like, and it's important actually. And there's a million ways because I mean we could probably spend a whole podcast sort of like going over what exactly caused this to go bad and again the answer is probably more in the realm of everything It's just a little bit of everything. Timing, advertisement, ugliness. Um, I think a lot of the issues that could have happened. Well, it's hard. No, it's hard to say because again, timing is so bad on it. It's too late. It's just way too late.
Yeah,
Um,
it is at least a couple years late.
yeah,
And possibly as much as 4 years late. That being said, you know, I don't know if it's a Sony. Like, what else does Sony really have going? Marathon is, from what we understand about it, is going to be another
there's
thing.
apparently an extraction shooter by Jade Raymond, which everyone's forgotten about. I mean, it was officially announced, I think, but yeah, like that's going to be another live service winner right there. Let me tell you what.
Yeah, like Sony's in sort of hot water in a sense. Which, I thought that really gave an opportunity to Microsoft, and Microsoft seems to be doing everything they can to miss that opportunity. Um, I, what's weird is either next year is going to be one of the most exciting years because people are going to have to really go back to the drawing board, or it's going to be
Mhm.
one of the worst years because nobody's going to want to go back to the drawing board.
I think this is what made Nintendo sort of stand out and be kind of successful. And it goes a lot. And frankly, it reminds me a lot of not what was said immediately, but was said about a week or two ago by the head of Pal World, which he said, I don't think games need to be played constantly. He says, I think it's unhealthy to have a game that like you have to be devoted to. I think it's fine if people play the game, play it for a certain amount of time, and then are just done with it and just move on.
Yes.
And he's running a live service game. So, but he was just kind of like, yeah, I don't think it's really healthy to be locked into one game forever.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Well, any normal fucking human being says that and realizes that, like, yes, duh.
yeah, and I think this is where the strength of even the Switch in its seventh year, going into its rolling close to its eighth, um, we're just seeing fun products being announced that are going to be a blast to play, but you're not going to play them forever or anything. But hey, that looks fun to play for a while. Like even if it's an older game, like there were there was a Castlevania DS collection that got me really happy. I
Oh
called it,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
having all three of those are really good games. Just having a collection of those games is great. Obviously, Capcom Fighting Collection 2 is a big one because those are that is literally like the games of my youths of my
Yeah.
youth. You know, there was a really,
I
bro.
mean,
There was
again, I had like a weird flashback to being like walking in Tilt before going to a movie to like play everything and like that music.
I
Uh,
had a I had such a like a person felt personally attacked because someone on Twitter literally just posted a picture of it and they're just like everybody over 35 just woke up. And I'm like,
well, joke's on you. I'm exactly 35 and I'm fuck. that's that's so upsetting.
I mean, to talk a little bit about because I know we haven't really talked about. Here's the thing: it's crazy to me that they decided to put all those games into one collection because, like, you've got Project Justice, which is Rival Schools 2. You've got the second, Star Gladiator, Plasma Sword. You got Plasma Sword on there. You got a Power Stone 1 and 2, which are
Yeah, but
they're
Kenny is
not
going to be just so hard.
so happy. And then you got the last version of the last arcade version of Alpha 3, and then of course the CVS 1 and 2 pro version of 1 and 2. Crazy. Like
Well,
it's
I
all
mean, just imagine the negotiations they had to go through to get that.
yeah, it's great. Well, because the thing is, like, SNK has a bunch of money now, but they've just seemingly been so down with the just collabing with anyone and everyone. And, it's kind of nice to see that even though now that they have the cash influx, is that it's kind of nice to see that they're not like, oh, we got money, we don't need you. Like they still realize that their mind share is still kind of like, yeah, like the hardcore fighting game people know us, but other people not so much.
Well, that
So
and I think one thing, and maybe this is like a tweet I saw one, like they realize they've been kept afloat by it's not a small community in South America and Central America that loves SNK.
Yeah.
It's not small, but it is insular. Like it
Mhm.
hasn't. It's only in recent years that SNK has been like, I don't know, internet culture relevant,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that it's expanding. The Spanish speaking world obviously is just massive. Look at that one streamer that won an award, and everybody's like, "Who?" And it's like, "Well, she's a streamer for the Spanish speaking world, which has like 3 times the following." You know, so like, yeah, hell yeah, she won. Um, you know, but like SNK, I think probably realizes that, or maybe it's kept them humble that they've been afloat for so long from an insular
Yeah.
community.
And it's still really tough to get even Switches and let alone PS5s in say Brazil and places where like the markup is insane. But it being on PC, which it probably will be, I think it is already announced. That's great.
Yeah,
That's fucking football right there, baby. So they're gonna be in on the party too, of course. So it just yeah, it's crazy to me that they did so many different games, like different it isn't like the first one, which was here's all the Darkstalkers games, and then here's a couple weird ones like Red Earth or whatever.
right.
This was like here's both CVSs, here's a random alpha game, here's a rival schools game, here's a plasma sword game, and here's the Power Stone games. Like and the only real connection, and it's not even exact. Yes, I know Fighting Evolutions is there, but whatever. The game sucks. Um, the only sort of connection they loosely have is that most of these games are on Naomi hardware. They're Dreamcast arcade boards, CVS One, CVS Two, Project
Power Stone.
Justice, Power Stone One, Power Stone Two. I believe Plasma Sword on there is also a Naomi board game. And like the only non Naomi board games are like Alpha 3 Upper and Capcom Fighting Evolution. So cool. They obviously must have a working Dreamcast emulator. Obviously, like they figured something out with Dreamcast Naomi emulation so that they feel it's obviously functionally good at this point, which is great for us because it there was always that sort of like, oh, are they ever going to get this stuff working? Because it's easy to emulate old 2D games up to a point, but when you just start adding 3D rendering in the background, like for Marvel 2 or CVS 2 or
Right.
whatever, that's when things just start getting a weird little iffy and more expensive. You just need more juice, unfortunately. So, but they figured it out. They figured it out. They got it going. Um, I again, there's a very small amount of because some people are like, well, what's left? And there's some interesting things not on that list, like Rival Schools 1, Star Gladiator, the first one, and it's not the best. It's not the most feature complete version of Alpha 3. And I'm like, yes, but those are all console versions.
I also think I've never played any of those three. I don't think I've played any of those.
Hmm. So there's a version of Alpha 3 called Alpha 3 Upper Max on the PSP, and it added characters from CVS 2 into Alpha 3.
Huh.
It's only ever been released on the PSP, and it is still trapped on the PSP.
So Max bought a PSP purely for that.
I mean, Max had a PSP because I think him and Jessica were Dissidia and for Kingdom Hearts way back in the day.
Well, that
So
and it is the coolest looking handheld.
yeah, although boy, if you still have a PSP and you haven't looked at it in a while, I would very much recommend taking that battery out.
I actually do have a PSP and I have not looked at it in a while.
You might want to check because the batteries
Corrode.
they corrode and they burst.
Ooh.
So a lot of people's back panels are burst or busted or just you got to get rid of that battery. The battery is actually it's a very faulty design in the old PSP batteries. They actually when they go out and they go bad, they actually expand. Um,
Yeah, a lot of old lithium batteries do.
yeah, so if you haven't done so, I would definitely check that out. Actually, it happened to a couple of Max's PSPs. I think one of them just burst out the back plates on it.
Well,
So
since moving, I have no idea where the fuck it is.
But
So
anyways, unfortunately, no, this is not that version of Alpha 3. because it's a PSP console version. Rival Schools, again, people have kind of speculated, and I agree with them. It's the fact that Rival Schools and like Star Gladiator, they had these big single player modes, all
Mhm.
this like extra fluff you could do on the console versions. And since every game in here is not the console version, these are arcade ports. We're not getting CVS2 Easy Operation, where you can, create your own groove style. You're not getting that. We're just getting the arcade version. It's the arcade version of all the games. These are
Huh.
all strictly arcade, which also means you're not getting a lot of stuff that was in like say Power Stone 2, or
Right.
whatnot, like adventure modes and stuff like that. So, but it's a little bit of a bummer, but I think we'll live.
I mean, yeah, it takes a little bit of the shine off, but not a lot. One thing that I do wonder about when I see bundles like that is like how far away are we from like being able to do bundles of early 3D games? Like how long is it until you'll do like I mean, I guess they're technically not even really truly 3D games, but the first 3 Resident Evils is a bundle on a fucking
Yeah,
Switch, that
obviously
kind of
this
thing.
this is obviously able to do, because if they've gotten Naomi emulation figured out, they can do this.
Yeah,
They could do this, and I think that would actually be a fun bundle to do. Would be
it would make money.
Original Resident Evil trilogy, because
Yeah.
you actually have a pretty decent amount of games there that you can throw in. So you have Resident Evil, you have Resident Evil Director's Cut. You can even add the Dual Shock versions of those versions in or out if you wanted to. I don't know how much difference there is between that. Same for Resident Evil 2. You could throw Resident Evil 2 N64 port on there for fun, because it has a bunch of exclusive modes and features that aren't
Yeah.
in the other versions of RE2. That would be fun to have, multiple versions of RE2 Classic.
Although when have you gone back and looked at that game
Oh yeah, yeah.
recently? It looks like mud to me.
It's a dark game, dude.
It just looks like muddy, weird. But it was great when it originally
But
came out.
if you were pulling from, say, the PC or GameCube versions, which had a higher resolution, that would
Yeah,
be
that'd make a difference. Yeah,
it would certainly, it would be fun to mix and match, maybe try to add features on. You could do stuff with it. It's stuff that you could really easily, feasibly do, for something like classic RE, and then throw like Survivor on there or something. Like, who cares, right? Like, like
nobody.
why not?
That's why nobody bought Survivor.
I mean, it'd be like that game you throw on there to sort of remind people how bad it could have been. Uh,
Well,
yeah,
okay, so
same with Dino Crisis 1 and 2. Why not?
no, they'll never bring Dino Crisis back because it's
Yeah,
what the people
apparently,
want.
Capcom is just kind of like, nah, you don't want Dino Crisis. Like, it was their most requested thing on their fan poll, and I was like, nah, you don't want Dino Crisis. A lot of people, I think, are taking Shinji Mikami's recent quote about it way out of context, because the whatever website who reported on it translated him and translated his statement as if he was working at Capcom. He hasn't worked there in 15 years. Um,
Hmm.
I'm going to tell you what I think he really said, and I think these people are doing kind of a shoddy job at translating. I'm just guessing here. I'm accusing them, but I'm just kind of guessing. This is they're not. He's not saying Capcom won't make Dino Crisis because they want to. He's saying he thinks they probably haven't made a Dino Crisis, probably because they feel they don't need to, because they have games like Monster Hunter and Exoprimal, and it's just, it's just a waste of resources. He's telling people what he speculates executives at Capcom might be thinking. But everyone's taking it as like, he said Capcom's not going to do this because of this reason. Like, bro, like, he doesn't work there.
Like
He
he doesn't
hasn't
know.
worked.
Yeah.
Like,
Huh. Well, what I say to that is on them. And Exoprimal was a mistake, and they should have given me Dino Crisis. Okay.
I agree, because I mean, like, we're getting like this out of nowhere Dead Rising
Well, like
reboot that
if
nobody asked for.
if we're getting although it does sort of look good, uh, if we're getting like Spielberg movies turned into games, Indiana Jones, uh, give
Which
me a
apparently
Jurassic Park
was,
game.
yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, there you go. They keep making weird ones, like, Jurassic Park, Zoo Tycoon. I'm like, already a
Hmm.
Telltale Jurassic Park game,
Yeah,
a visual novel game. I'm like,
give me a Jurassic Park where you play as like I don't know Malcolm, Hammond, or no, you play as like the three main characters that they split up. Let's see, how's it go? Because Samuel L. Jackson's character has his own adventure, and it goes bad, but it's his own adventure. You
Yeah.
could have multiple through lines in this game. Is all I'm
You know,
saying.
you're playing as Muldoon. You could be
Oh,
playing as, you know,
oh, buddy, me in some fucking proper 8-inch boots and some short shorts with a safari hat, buddy. Muldoon is who he was born to be.
you can make a really cool Muldoon game where it's like, let's say he survived the raptor attack, but he's all scarred up, but everyone's just left him for dead, and he's basically alone on the island. So then it becomes a sort of like
Far
survival
Cry.
horror, survival horror thing for him to get to a boat or something,
Just a
or to
man in short shorts and a Spaz 12.
right? Like that would be a fun survival game. It's a
I'm
cool what
in.
if you will, or if you wanted. I'm definitely on the hate train, but like even I would be interested in a Lost World game where you played as the hunter. If I don't remember his name, um,
Yeah, didn't that guy also play Gandhi in a movie?
Ben Kingsley did. He might have,
Ben
uh,
Kingsley played Gandhi.
but like the hunter from Lost World,
Yeah,
who just literally at one point, just fucks off from the rest of the movie and he bags the T-Rex that they put on the boat. And we never see how he does it or anything. And
very
I'm kind of like,
cool.
and I'm like, Lost World game where you play as that dude doing his thing, all the stuff he was doing off screen.
Give me a
Would have,
Lost World weird Pokemon Snap marriage where you're playing as Vince Vaughn's character, just taking wildlife photography while
or
not getting murdered.
yeah, or Jeff Goldblum's wife. Um, yeah, what's his name?
And
Big
more,
fan. Yeah, that's right, Julianne. God, that movie sucked.
but she doesn't. Julianne Moore.
But,
Um,
but anyways, yes, like you're right. Where is the crazy, scary, fun survival horror Jurassic Park game? Like where the hell is that?
especially since Spielberg likes games. Get on it, man. What the fuck?
I feel like every time Spielberg's tried to dip his toe into gaming, something always just kind of goes wrong. And I attribute that mostly to the fact that, yeah, you're working with EA. Like the problem is most of these big Western gaming companies, like, yeah, they absolutely love the idea of Spielberg coming to make a game and collab with them. Oh, that's great. The thing is,
They suck.
EA and Activision, whatever, these are grift houses. Like straight up. They are uh, now I'm not trying to say that movie studios aren't openly nakedly greedy, because they are, but the directors and writers and actors, they can actually have some pull in what gets made in a movie studio. Like
Right.
Spielberg has pull. No, how matter how big he is, nobody has pull in Activision or EA. Just the big dickheads at the top. So anything, whatever Bobby wants. If so, when, he's gone, and I can even shit talk him more. But it's like, if Bobby wanted to make every fucking studio under Activision make Call of Duty, Bobby
could.
could do that. Oh, and he did.
He did.
He did. So because this makes the most money. I don't give a fuck about it. Like we saw. I don't know if the thing that came out, Crash Bandicoot 5, was rejected
Yeah.
because
And
4 didn't
yeah.
like the sales. I'm like, no. So what did he do? He put them in, made him work on Call of Duty. Hey, toys for Bobby. Go make Call of Duty. Yeah. You had a Crash game. It was fine. Whatever. It's not making me Call of Duty money. So why aren't you making Call of Duty? I only want Call of Duty money. It's the only
Now
kind of
that
money I want. Give me. That's all I want. I want boats, Call of Duty money,
and
and to go
hose.
visit Epstein Island.
Now that Bobby Kotick is gone, we need like a new true supervillain for gaming, and we're gonna have to debate that. We'll do an episode just called
That is true.
Gaming.
Who's our new punching bag super? I know Phil is kind of like there right now. Like everyone's calling him Liza P right now.
Look, after the last few months, he's bringing it on himself right now.
A little bit. And I gotta say, like, and sort of a non-Nintendo news, apparently the eyes on for Indiana Jones was really positive.
Hell yeah.
And I read some of the interviews with Machine Games, and They actually sounded pretty good. They're like, this game's not a shooter game. They're like, yeah, like watch an indie movie. He kills a couple people when he has to. And we have guns, and you can shoot them, and you will shoot people in this game. But this game is not like, it's not Wolfenstein.
Which
He's
is a
like,
mistake.
you're not gunning people down like constantly. You are actually going to be like solving puzzles and stuff.
Yeah, you're a professor, not a
Yeah, so I mean, I feel like he's like, they got their head like, they're like, yeah, we're aware people were gonna be like a little thrown off with the first person at first and stuff. So and we thought about it ourselves. We decided, to stick to what we know really well. And I'm like, okay,
I
yeah.
the thing is they've done enough really quality games that, like, I don't know, they bought a little bit of faith here.
Yeah, I'm excited for it.
I'm gonna give it to them. We'll see.
And like, I'll be like, oh, you're gonna play it on people. It's funny when people are like, you're gonna play it on PS5. I'm like, why would I wait to play? I have an Xbox and I have a Game Pass. I'm going to play it day one on Game Pass. Like, no, I'm not gonna wait, months later for a port way down the road. Like, I can play it on my PC day one or whatever. Like,
And that's what I'm gonna be doing.
yeah, that's what I'm gonna be doing. And then I'm really upset because it was at Gamescom, but apparently it was embargoed until yesterday. Claire Obscure Expedition 33.
Oh,
They
yeah,
re-
yeah,
they
yeah.
released a full gameplay trailer, and I was like, Bro, you should have had this on your opening night live."
The other thing is, like, it's turn-based. I'm not well, it's a weird
It
turn-based
is,
marriage.
but true to their word and true in the actual just raw uncut gameplay, you are constantly having to react.
Yeah.
They it is a very, and it looked like everything can be dodged or parried.
Huh.
Like, it seemed like there was no attack given out that couldn't be either, avoided or completely blocked or parried. And I was like,
Well,
good.
this is one of those situations where I know it's probably not the type of gameplay I like most, but I think I'm gonna buy it anyway and give it
It's
the
on Game Pass.
well, but here's my pitch for why I'm thinking I'm just gonna buy it.
Hmm.
It is a swing.
Yeah.
It is actually, like, in a fucking world where we have been saying no one's taking any swings, here one is. This is a swing. And I want to reward that. I want that
Yeah.
to be like I want it to be a win. So even though I might only get like an hour or two into it before I decide I don't like the gameplay because it's not my type of game, I'm going for it. I think that's what I'm
I
gonna
don't
do.
know. I think you'll be surprised. I think, and the publisher is interesting. It's a really weird small European publisher, Kepler. Um,
Right.
they did Chia and they did Scorn.
Oh
And
yeah, both those we liked.
yeah, they
Yeah.
published both of them. They're not the same dev, but yeah, they
Right, but
published
like
those. Yeah.
publisher
The,
curates their slate.
yeah, and there's some action game as well that was at the Xbox show that they're published. I think they might have published Flintlock as well. But yeah, they're definitely going after more of the swings. They're going after the interesting weird games and stuff that actually shows kind of actually like promise in a way that not, in a way that doesn't look like, oh, well, it's like one dude in a basement making a game kind of thing. But
Right.
like, they're actually taking teams of people who are able to produce something a
And
little
putting them in
high for
basements.
God.
Uh, but no, I want to reward that. And it is a genuinely it's an exciting game. I think it's of the entire showcase that like it was a part of, that was your number one, wasn't it? Wasn't that
Yeah.
your number one at that time? Yeah.
For that Xbox One, I was like, yeah, this is a giant swing. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm really looking forward to Fable, and I'm sure Gears of War is going to be great.
Yeah.
I want to be hyped for indie. There was an amazing Easter egg, by the way. Can I just say, like someone pointed out in the footage they had for indie,
Yeah.
when he's looking through his journal, there's a whole page dedicated to the Temple of the Forbidden Eye from 1937 for the ride, like
No shit.
canonizing the story of the ride. And I'm like, that's cool. Like
Yeah.
that's the kind of fun sort of like Easter eggy stuff I like, where they're like, oh yeah, like here's this sort of like somewhat obscure or whatever thing, but it's got all this lore behind it. We're just gonna throw it in. He's gonna have it in his notebook because why wouldn't he?
Yeah. Huh. I don't know. When does that come out? When does that release? I don't remember.
December 9th or something.
Oh, late in the
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, late in the year. But it's looking like, hey, that could be like a nice end of the year wrap up game,
Yeah,
Uh,
no, I'm down with that. I also know like my wife is just Lisa's so odd about the games that she really like gravitates
hmm,
towards. Like Borderlands is one of her favorite games. Just I think she described it once as a game that's like it's funny enough and interesting enough, but I can still turn my brain off and just sort of like goof off.
yeah.
And like she really likes that. Um, but when I showed her Indiana Jones and she was just like, "Oh," so she did archaeology in college, and so she's like all about it. Her degrees in like bioanthro and shit. And I was all like, "Is Indiana Jones what you wanted to be when you grow up?" She was like, "No, Harrison Ford, but Indiana Jones is a big part of it." And I was like, "Okay, I get that." Like Simmons, The Last Crusade is her favorite Indiana Jones, which is still blasphemy. I do like it a lot.
Oh, here we go. The Raiders
Raiders,
fan.
Raiders is the best.
Here's how it's argued. You argue which is, if you're going to argue which is the best indie film, it's between Raiders and Last Crusade, and then everything else is after.
Yeah, well,
Y-
nobody talks about Temple of Doom, and the other two aren't real.
Apparently, I want to make this. Let's get this discussion going because my ranking for indie films is Last Crusade. That came out well. Last Crusade, Raiders, right behind it, like just just right there.
You're gonna put Temple of Doom in number 3, aren't you, you son of a bitch?
No, I'm gonna put Dial of Destiny at number 3.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, I agree with you.
I put Dial of Destiny number 3,
Yeah.
and that's it's a bit of a distant third. Don't get me wrong, it's back there.
Yeah, but I
Um,
don't think it's nearly as bad as what people
oh,
wanted
it's
it to
no,
be bad. They wanted it to be bad.
it's nowhere near as bad.
No.
Like, people had a hate boner for it, and then further down the railroad track is Crystal Skull, and then Temple of Doom, and I have lost interest in Temple of Doom the further I get away from it as an adult. Like Ke Huy Quan is the only redeeming thing in that movie to me.
There's fun character work in Temple of Doom. Everything else about that movie is just bad. It's just not a good one. They made a misstep, okay? I mean, Harrison Ford is the most shredded Harrison Ford's ever
Yeah,
been, and that's cool.
but it's the most bitter, it's the most on-screen visual representation of two directors going through bitter divorces put to screen. It's
Yeah.
the biggest metaphor for, like, I fucking hate my life and I'm going through a fucking miserable divorce.
That's the pitch perfect tone to end on.
So yeah, not a big fan of Temple of Doom.
Temple of Doom's not good. I'm sorry, Kenny. I know it's Kenny's favorite.
Short Round kind of saves it, but it's kind of like, man, boy, everything after that movie just who lordy. Like, I mean, I guess to give context, I don't like it because I don't feel they spend like 70% of the movie in a cave. It's called Temple of Doom. I get it, but it's in a cave. So the movie looks like it's on a soundstage 70% of the time. Um, no hate to Mrs. Spielberg, but boy.
And it's rushed as hell.
It's rushed as hell. She ruined her character because I'm definitely not I'm definitely not that asshole who's like, this actor sucks. They ruined the movie. I'm like, no, this character, the way they're written and what they were supposed to be doing, ruined every second they were on screen. For Willie specifically, the bad guy is kind of fun, but he shows up in like the middle of the third act, and and doesn't really do much. And then and then at the end, yes, the effects for the time are bad. like like
Yeah.
the weird editing of people, like the green screen looks horrible in the movie. The alligators chewing on fabric, it looks so bad. like even the object they go after is nothing interesting is said about it. Like, oh, these are sacred stones. Cool. What's the back lore or history of that? They kind of brush it over. It's a stone, and like they don't really do much with it. And again, again, Indy's weirdly greedy and assholish in this movie in a way
Yeah,
I don't really
he's
get.
a giant asshole and also is like superhero ripped.
Yeah,
Dude's
he's
a
like
professor of archaeology, and he's just like, he went on roids for just this adventure.
right, and it's like he initially is really only sort of motivated by fortune and glory, which he keeps telling. The opening of the movie, he's trading in the ashes of the first emperor of China for a fucking diamond.
Yeah.
And that's before they poison him. And I'm like, really? That what was your plan? And I'm like, this priceless historical artifact. I got a diamond out of it. Yeah. I'm like,
Yeah, I don't know. The movie's junk.
he
I'm sorry.
punches one of the showgirls for no reason. Again,
Sometimes you just got to
again,
remind a person in
again,
time.
again. I cannot stress enough how much this movie feels like a divorce film.
On that note, I was going to end it when you said, pull. If you want to have pull with us, you can become a patron at any level at patreon.com/YoVideogames podcast. Our dude of the week was Kendrick D. Thank you, Kendrick. And our producers for this episode are Dragon Wolf Makoto, Osnite, Zybernite, Scrunami, Kroy35, Hyper Viper 89, Hockey Kong 64, LCL Mayhem, and Ziggy Z. Thank you, dudes. We will catch you next time.
Later, dudes.